Good morning, this is the Paradise Unicorn Priestess, bringing you day 190 of A Course in Miracles, the Yin translation, where we use female words. This would be July 9th if you're starting at the new year. Reason and the forms of error. The introduction of reason into the ego's thought system is the beginning of its undoing, for reason and the ego are contradictory. Nor is it possible for them to coexist in your awareness. For reason's goal is to make plain and therefore obvious. You can see reason. This is not a play on words, for here is the beginning of a vision that has meaning. Vision is sense, quite literally. If it is not the body's sight, it must be understood. For it is plain, and what is obvious is not ambiguous. It can be understood, and here do reason and the ego separate to go their separate ways. The ego's whole continuance depends on its belief you cannot learn this course. Share this belief, and reason will be unable to see your errors and make way for their correction. For reason sees through errors, telling you what you thought was real is not. Reason can see the difference between sin and mistakes because it wants correction. Therefore, it tells you what you thought was uncorrectable can be corrected, and thus it must have been an error. The ego's opposition to correction leads to its fixed belief in sin and disregard of errors. It looks on nothing that can be corrected. Thus does the ego damn and reason save. Reason is not salvation in itself, but it makes way for peace and brings you to a state of mind in which salvation can be given you. Sin is a block, set like a heavy gate, locked and without a key, across the road to peace. No one who looks on it, without the help of reason, would try to pass it. The body's eyes would behold it as solid granite, so thick it would be madness to attempt to pass it. Yet reason sees through it easily because it is an error. The form it takes cannot conceal its emptiness from reason's eyes. Only the form of error attracts the ego, meaning it does not recognize and does not see if it is there or not. Everything the body's eyes can see is a mistake, an error in perception, a distorted fragment of the whole without the meaning that the whole would give. And yet mistakes, regardless of their form, can be corrected. Sin is but an error in a special form the ego venerates. It would preserve all errors and make them sins, for here is its own stability, its heavy anchor in the shifting world it made, the rock on which its church is built, and where its worshippers are bound to bodies, believing the body's freedom is their own. Reason will tell you that the form of error is not what makes it a mistake. If what the form conceals is a mistake, the form cannot prevent correction. The body's eyes see only form. They cannot see beyond what they were made to see, and they were made to look on error and not see past it. Theirs is indeed a strange perception, for they can see only illusions, unable to look beyond the granite block of sin and stopping at the outside form of nothing. To this distorted form of vision, the outside of everything, the wall that stands between you and the truth, is wholly true. Yet how can sight that stops at nothingness, as if it were a solid wall, see truly? It is held back by form, having been made to guarantee that nothing else but form will be perceived. These eyes, made not to see, will never see, for the idea they represent left not its maker, and it is their maker that sees through them. What was its maker's goal but not to see? For this the body's eyes are perfect means, but not for seeing. See how the body's eyes rest on externals and cannot go beyond. Watch how they stop at nothingness, unable to go beyond the form to meaning. Nothing so blinding as perception of form. For sight of form means understanding has been obscured. Only mistakes have different forms, and so they can deceive. You can change form because it is not true. It could not be reality because it can be changed. Reason will tell you that if form is not reality, it must be an illusion and is not there to see. And if you see it, you must be mistaken, for you are seeing what cannot be real as if it were. What cannot see beyond what is not there must be distorted perception, and must perceive illusions as the truth. Could it then recognize the truth? Let not the form of her mistakes keep you from her whose holiness is yours. Let not the vision of her holiness, the sight of which would show you your forgiveness, be kept from you by what the body's eyes can see. Let your awareness of your sister not be blocked by your perception of her sins and of her body. What is there in her that you would attack except what you associate with her body, which you believe can sin? Beyond her errors is her holiness and your salvation. You gave her not her holiness, but tried to see your sins in her to save yourself. And yet, her holiness is your forgiveness. Can you be saved by making sinful the one whose holiness is your salvation? A holy relationship, however newly born, must value holiness above all else. Unholy values will produce confusion and inawareness. In an unholy relationship, each one is valued because she seems to justify the other's sin. Each sees within the other what impels her to sin against her will, and thus she lays her sin upon the other and is attracted to her to perpetuate her sins. And so it must become impossible for each to see herself as causing sin by her desire to have sin real. Yet reason sees a holy relationship as what it is, a common state of mind where both give errors gladly to correction, that both may happily be healed as one. Truly, the body's eyes only see skin deep. They see what we think of as the surface of things, and there they stop. They do not penetrate. They do not grasp. Science tells us that solid matter is mostly empty space, and that the illusion of solidness is due to the repelling of electrons and the outer shells of the atoms of us pressing against an object. And so it is force fields repelling things, pushing them apart, that perpetuates this illusion. What if we had a sight that did not stop at the outer edge of what we think of as a thing, a separate thing? What if it penetrated, not as it penetrates thin air, but perceiving the truth about that air? Do we perceive the molecules of air? Do we see their protons and neutrons and electrons in their dance? We do not. Those things are too tiny. Do we perceive faraway galaxies? Not without the help of a telescope. True vision is so much more than what the body's eyes are capable of, and so much more than seeing particles, for the particles are just part of the illusion too. This text reading speaks of sin as a heavy gate, locked in without a key, like thick granite that it would be madness to ever dream of getting past. But with the sight of vision, it is but an open passageway, and it reminds me of a previous text reading where I was thinking of it like a video game where your avatar is walking around in the game, bumping into things that don't seem to be there, seeing solid walls where there are actually openings to go through, and then bumping into, well, solid walls that they didn't see were there. Imagining being in a video game where your character is fed completely wrong information about its environment. And that's what's being described here. All of our relationships are unholy before we have given them over to the Holy Spirit, given them over to love to be healed, to admit that we do not know what is best and we desire a better way that is given to us by the grace of heaven It is the ego's instinct. It is our default state to see in those unholy relationships the justification for us continuing to need to be afraid in various ways and attack in various ways, in all the many infinite forms that takes. And indeed, A Course in Miracles teaches us that we made up the whole world in order to justify us feeling unpleasant things of all kinds in all their infinite forms. It doesn't matter if it's anger or fear or guilt or shame, whatever it might be, any kind of pain. And A Course in Miracles says even the merest, slightest discomfort or weariness is included in this as one of the forms. None of that is of God or is of heaven, for love gives only what delights. Lesson 190. I choose the joy of God instead of pain. Pain is a wrong perspective. When it is experienced in any form, it is a proof of self-deception. It is not a fact at all. There is no form it takes that will not disappear if seen aright. For pain proclaims God cruel. How could it be real in any form? It witnesses to God the Mother's hatred of her child, the sinfulness she sees in her, and her insane desire for revenge and death. Can such projections be attested to? Can they be anything but wholly false? Pain is but witness to the child's mistakes in what she thinks she is. It is a dream of fierce retaliation for a crime that could not be committed, for attack on what is wholly unassailable. It is a nightmare of abandonment by an eternal love which could not leave the child whom it created out of love. Pain is a sign. Illusions reign in place of truth. It demonstrates God is denied, confused with fear, perceived as mad, and seen as traitor to herself. If God is real, there is no pain. If pain is real, there is no God. For vengeance is not part of love. And fear, denying love and using pain to prove that God is dead, has shown that death is victor over life. The body is the child of God, corruptible in death, as mortal as the mother she has slain. Peace to such foolishness. The time has come to laugh at such insane ideas. There is no need to think of them as savage crimes or secret sins with weighty consequence. Who but a madwoman could conceive of them as cause of anything? Their witness, pain, is mad as they, and no more to be feared than the insane illusions which it shields, and tries to demonstrate must still be true. It is your thoughts alone that cause you pain. Nothing external to your mind can hurt or injure you in any way. There is no cause beyond yourself that can reach down and bring oppression. No one but yourself affects you. There is nothing in the world that has the power to make you ill or sad or weak or frail, but it is you who have the power to dominate all things you see by merely recognizing what you are. As you perceive the harmlessness in them, they will accept your holy will as theirs. And what was seen as fearful now becomes a source of innocence and holiness. My holy sister, think of this a while. The world you see does nothing. It has no effects at all. It merely represents your thoughts. And it will change entirely as you elect to change your mind and choose the joy of God as what you really want. Your self is radiant in this holy joy, unchanged, unchanging, and unchangeable, forever and forever. And would you deny a little corner of your mind its own inheritance and keep it as a hospital for pain, a sickly place where living things must come at last to die? The world may seem to cause you pain, and yet the world, as causeless, has no power to cause. As an effect, it cannot make effects. As an illusion, it is what you wish. Your idle wishes represent its pains. Your strange desires bring it evil dreams. Your thoughts of death envelop it in fear, while in your kind forgiveness does it live. Pain is the thought of evil taking form and working havoc in your holy mind. Pain is the ransom you have gladly paid not to be free. In pain is God denied the child she loves. In pain does fear appear to triumph over love, and time replace eternity and heaven. And the world becomes a cruel and a bitter place. where sorrow rules and little joys give way before the onslaught of the savage pain that waits to end all joy in misery. Lay down your arms and come without defense into the quiet place where heaven's peace holds all things still at last. Lay down all thoughts of danger and of fear. Let no attack enter with you. Lay down the cruel sword of judgment that you hold against your throat, and put aside the withering assaults with which you seek to hide your holiness. Here will you understand there is no pain. Here does the joy of God belong to you. This is the day when it is given you to realize the lesson that contains all of salvation's power. It is this: pain is illusion, joy reality. Pain is but sleep, joy is awakening. Pain is deception, joy alone is truth. And so again, we make the only choice that ever can be made. We choose between illusions and the truth, or pain and joy, or hell and heaven. Let our gratitude unto our teacher fill our hearts, as we are free to choose our joy instead of pain, our holiness in place of sin, the peace of God instead of conflict, and the light of heaven for the darkness of the world. Who among us is not tired of pain in all the forms that it takes? We have accepted that it is an inescapable, necessary part of life. We have an infinite number of beliefs that bolster this. A Course in Miracles asks us to laugh it all off as impossible, as something that we made. There is an image, a meme running around the internet that I am fond of, where there is a little child who seems to be laying on the ground with a boot grinding into his little head. It's awful to look at, but then there's a second follow-up image where that same child is smiling and laughing because his own hand is inside of that boot, pressing onto his own head. The original image was completely deceptive, and when we scroll back, when we pan back just a little bit, zoom out of the image, we see the truth. The child was making a joke. Can we pan back, zoom out, and see that pain is but a joke that we played on ourselves? Truly, that would be a miracle indeed for all pain to be finished in our lives. And then we walk about offering that good news to everyone, freeing them from pain as well. We don't need to impel other people to read A Course in Miracles in order to make the benefits real in their lives. That's not the message. The message is we have the power to change everything by forgiving, and we are told that our first responsibility is to receive the gift of heaven for ourselves. And so, can we live a life completely devoid of pain? Can we see our avatar completely healed and nothing more than a communication device to walk among our sisters here who have not yet awakened? Until we have done that, we have not yet received the message. Let us take that first step. Let us really receive what the Course is saying. And so I wish you, dear listener, happy practicing.